Hey, how's it going, Captains? Admiral Tori here, and welcome aboard for another World of Warships video on my channel. In today's video, I'm going to take a look at the Z-46. So, when it comes to the German destroyer line, I would probably rate the experience as being rough compared to other destroyers I played. I felt that the USN destroyers was the most consistent, as in I'm fine with grinding the ship all the way to the next tier. The Japanese, I have my hit or miss moments, but with the German line, it's very inconsistent with what you get when you progress throughout the tiers. So tier 2, 3, and 4, really not much to talk about because those are really early tier destroyers. You're just messing around. It doesn't really flex the muscles of what the German line is all about. Tier 5 is when you get your first actual German destroyer. I don't think you get Hydro, but it's more of a modern design that you feel as you progress throughout the tier. Tier 6 is where it really shines, or at least what you expect from the German line. Quick reloading torpedoes, hydroacoustic search, short duration smoke, and of course you have better guns compared to the previous tier. Tier 6 to Tier 8, it's rough, okay? So Tier 6 is your first taste of a German destroyer. Tier 7, she loses a lot on the concealment. So that's one thing about the German destroyer line that people don't like. The German destroyers have very poor concealment. Say they go with the Gaida, the Ernst Gaida, if I pronounce it correctly. So you have quick reloading torpedoes, but these two tiers, your concealment is very close to your max range on the torpedoes. So it's difficult to get a torpedo run going, but with the quick reloading torpedoes, and they are fairly stealthy, hard to detect, it can be a fun experience. So from going from the tier 6 to tier 7, you trade a lot on the concealment, but you get way better guns because you got one extra gun on the Lieberreich compared to the Gaida. So that's really a nice experience, but you trade the concealment, so it's kind of more difficult to torpedo with the Lieberreich compared to the Gaida. Then you go to tier 8, where you have a lot more room to work with on the torpedoes because you get access to the concealment mod, which brings down your concealment at best with concealment expert 6.1 kilometers. So now you got a ship that is more stealthy than previously, and you can work with your torpedoes, and I think the torpedoes are upgraded to, let's see, what's the max range on the torpedoes? 9.5 kilometers. So now you have a torpedo boat. But it comes with a cost, and the cost is that you lose on the firepower because you used to have 5 guns. Now you only have 4. Yes, one gun can really make the difference between a ship that has 4 guns versus 5, personally for me. And the last time you had this type of experience is with tier 6, with the Gaida, with only 4 guns. So the Z-23 feels like the Gaida with better concealment and better torpedoes. And that's at tier 8. You're working against radar type of cruisers, more deadly weapons that you see at tier 10. It was a rough experience, and I personally free XP this ship. It's not to say that I can't deal with it, I can bear with it, just trying to bank on my torpedo and my concealment, but with the radar and the CVs, it was an experience that I don't want to go through because I already went through with playing the Gaida. It was just too similar, so I decided that it was just not fun to grind. I mean, I could, like I said, but I choose not to if I have the free XP to free XP it. Now, tier 9, which is where we're at right now, the Z-46 is really what you really wanted to get from the German line. The Z-46 is a definite change, and we can talk about it. Starting with the Z-46 having the best concealment in the destroyer line. the entire German line, with a consummate of 5.9 kilometers. Now, I say the entire line, I'm mainly talking about the more realistic tiers like tier 5 to tier 10. I'm not sure the earlier tiers with concealment expert might have better concealment than this ship, but the point is that realistically speaking, at this tier, you have the best concealment for the German line at 5.9 kilometers when you grab the upgrade with the right captain. The speed of the destroyer is fairly fast for its tier. The biggest upgrade that I was looking forward to when I was looking through the German line are the guns. So you get access to 6 of these 128mm guns. 2 guns are housed per turret, and you got 3 turrets. These guns are a massive improvement from the previous German destroyer, because you still get the same shells that you find since the Geta, okay? But these are housed in twin gun turrets, which means that they feel a lot more consistent when you fire a full broadside. Although it has not been specified in the stats, which just says that it has exactly the same AP damage, exactly the same fire chance, HE damage from all the previous German destroyer, there has been an improvement to the shell travel time, or at least they reduced the drag. So the shells don't hang as bad as they were before, because that's one of the frustration of grinding the Z-23 is that you get that same experience of just constantly having your shells lobbing over islands. I would say that's the only benefit, but it was really hard to try to stay on target at a fair distance. That is no longer the case. These guns feel like, I guess, not exactly like it, but the German cruisers. The German cruisers has pretty fast shells at a destroyer comparison. So they're very fast for a destroyer. So that's a massive upgrade. Not only that, like I said, one of the biggest trait of the German destroyers is that they have poor HE guns. In the case of the Z-46, she can take advantage of the AP. So before, when you have the chance to use AP in the previous tier, there are certain ships that you can't really fully take advantage of the AP. And that is against destroyers because they tend to overpen, but when you get that nice full penetration, it is worth. In the case of the Z-46, the AP is a lot more relevant. And the reason why is because you're up against destroyers that are much larger, much wider, and that allows you to get more full pens. You still do overpen from time to time on certain destroyers. I find that Shimikazes, when they show broadside, I tend to overpen unless I aim at the right spot, if I were to describe it, or the Shimikaze angles at a certain point where the shells will stick. But aside from that, the guns are the biggest improvement. So big improvement on concealment, big improvement on the guns, and the torpedoes. You finally reach the standard, which I would consider the average, and that is the expectation of 10 kilometers. 10 kilometers is probably the most comfortable torpedo range for a destroyer. If you have 10 kilometers on a destroyer, it's really nice because that is really the magical number for radar most of the time. When I say most of the time, it depends on the nation. Russians have short durations, long-range radar versus the Americans that have longer duration, and well, they still have fairly long-range radar, but not as long as the Russians. So yeah, not only that, you get access to the tier 9, tier 10 upgrade, which allows you to pick with these options. Now, like I said, one of the main selling points with the German destroyers are the quick reloading torpedoes. So I decided that let's make it even quicker with the captain skill that is the torpedo expert skill. I don't know what's it called, but reduce the time to reload the torpedoes. You can bring down the torpedo reload to roughly 68 seconds, which is a torpedo wave every minute. Now, it does come with a cost with the German line, and it's the same case with the Z-52. While all the other nations that I've seen, they get more torpedoes per tube, the Z-46 get the same number of torpedoes that you had since the Geta. I'm not sure about the T51, T22. Does it have? I think it has only 3 torpedoes per tube. Yes, it only has 3 torpedoes per tube. So that is the trade-off you get. And the torpedoes, you peak in torpedo damage at this tier as a German destroyer. With the Z-52, which is a whole nother story, yeah, she has the same exact damage. So you don't do that much damage per torpedo hit, but with the constant reload, the quick reload, the constant output of torpedoes, that is what makes the Z-46 strong. She's all about putting dominance on the flag, and your hydroacoustic search range is now 5 kilometers. Not as far as the Lo Yang, which is Tier 8's Pan-Asian Premium Destroyer, which is 5.5, but once you get to the Z-52, that is a massive upgrade. The maneuverability, it's fair. I like it. The guns are situated in a way that's called or described as A, X, and Y. And from the perspective of World of Warship, it really comes down to the situation. If you position your ship in such a way where you're trying to flee skirmish from your enemies, this is very effective because 2/3 of your firepower is facing to the stern, which is why sometimes I really do enjoy playing the Japanese destroyers because the guns are positioned this way. Now, of course, the Z-52 has a different philosophy. It is the reverse, but in the case of the Z-46, it benefits from running away, whereas the Z-52, which, like I said, is a whole nother story, is more beneficial of charging in. So yes, quick reloading torpedoes, a bigger upgrade. If you thought the German destroyers reload pretty quick, well, it's even quicker at this tier. Finally a change in gun behavior, because I just got sick of the single gun turrets, and you also get back more guns. You have the best concealment for the German line. The Z-52 only has 6.1 kilometers as its best concealment, whereas this is 5.9. AA. We gotta talk about AA. Although this is a destroyer, nobody cares about AA. I shot down considerable amount of planes when I'm up against Tier 8 carriers. With this destroyer, this is the first destroyer in the German line that gets access to the long-range flak. Previously, the single gun turrets could not be dual purpose, where this is dual purpose, which means that your AA is 3 folds, 10 folds, I don't know how many folds, but it's a lot more useful. So better AA, better concealment, better guns, better torpedoes. I think speed might be a little bit better, might be the same, I'm not sure. I think it's less maneuverable than the Z-23 because this is a longer, larger destroyer. I might be wrong, but it feels like a destroyer. You expect destroyers to be nimble and easy to turn. Aside from that, let's take a look at the gameplay and see how she performs in game, or at least what you expect when it comes to grinding this ship out. Alright, let's take a look at a particular game that I had with the Z-46 recently. Now, as stated before, I had issues with the previous German destroyers that I grinded. Starting at tier 6, I can't really fault the Geta because the Geta is an early tier ship. At the same time, it is the first German destroyer that you'll get the full experience because she gets access to the hydroacoustic search. You can torpedo decently, and overall, it is a solid tier 6 destroyer in my opinion. As you progress to tier 7, you trade your concealment, which causes you to not have the greatest torpedo experience because you got little room to work with, for the guns. The Liberite has very nice guns, and your ship is a lot more tankier than before. Going to tier 8, you get back the concealment, better torpedo performance, but you trade the firepower from the previous tier. Normally, in any other line that is considered smooth, you expect to build upon the previous, but in the case of the Germans, you're constantly trading. For once with the Z-46, you have the best concealment, you have better guns, better torpedoes. You're trading nothing from the previous tier aside from their badness, if I were to say it that way. So, what do you get? What do you expect from the Z-46? Well, dominating on the flag. That is what the German destroyers are all about at this tier. With the tools you have, the concealment, the torpedoes, and the guns, with the Z-46 and Z-52, these are the games that you're expected to do with these ships. So, on going to the A flag, And this map is notorious for destroyers rushing to A because of that island. Normally destroyers would love to get in A and sit behind the island and just wait. But in my case, I am going to force the engagement because I have hydro and smoke. All you have to do, as you would do previously with the German destroyers, get close enough for your hydro, use your smoke, and start firing at your target. Especially when the destroyer has no clue about what German destroyers do. Because in the NA server, there's not many German destroyers that I see out there, so a lot of people don't know what they're doing when it comes to handling or dealing with an enemy German destroyer like this Fletcher. This Fletcher is trying to figure out what is going on, decides to smoke up when I use my hydro. Yeah, that's not gonna work, and the Fletcher is sailing towards me. So I have a lot of confidence of winning against this Fletcher, but suddenly the Akizuki appears. At this point, I use my smoke because there's no way I'm going to take the shells from the Akizuki, which is a strong gunboat, and the Fletcher. So load the AP and look at that, 7-fold penetration. Again, at this tier, your AP is a lot more relevant because you're up against ships that are more susceptible to full penetration, like this Akizuki. And yeah, you're just getting massive salvos, absolutely massive. And now the Akizuki is almost dead, at least less than half HP. She's only left with a third. The Fletcher earlier was somewhat damaged, I don't recall. I got a torpedo hit on somebody, I don't know who. Fletcher appears again, still not getting the message that I have hydro. Now of course my hydro is running out. Friendly Edinburgh is rushing into the flag. The island is one of the selling points for a lot of people to rush into this flag. My torpedoes are up. Look at that, 1 minute and 5 or 6 seconds to reload. Yeah, it's just pressure. I mean, if you have torpedoes at your disposal every minute, you can constantly torpedo. I face a lot of players who think that, oh, the Z-46 decides to use their torpedoes, I dodge them, and I'm going to sit in the smoke because chances are the torpedoes are not reloaded, but that isn't the case. And right here, yeah, I got a massive, devastating strike on that Gneisenau. With the German destroyers, you don't have that feeling or that moment where when you play a destroyer and you wish you had torpedoes. Torpedoes are always on your mind with the Z-46. As a matter of fact, I should be using my torpedoes more often, but I just can't find moments when I need to use it, rather than I need the torpedoes at the moment when I need it, if that makes sense. So we weren't able to capture the A flag because the enemy has more ships on this side, but I will go back in with my hydro and smoke recover from the cooldown. Going to send another torpedo salvo downrange into the flag. Let's see if we get any lucky hits. I send torpedoes even if I know that I am not in range. You never know, you might hit a random destroyer. It happens with the German destroyers a lot of the times when I'm playing them. Friendly Shiratsuyu is going to join in on the fight on A flag. Friendly Musashi, I believe, on my right, is hesitant about pushing the A flag. Looks like the Fletcher has dropped torpedoes in this direction. And right here, yeah, I got really lucky on the Akizuki. And going to fire one good salvo. Seems like the Shiratsu took that kill from me. I'm fine with that, as long as I don't have to deal with the Akizuki. Now it's my turn to search for the Fletcher. I'm not certain that earlier torpedo salvo was from the Akizuki or the Fletcher, but nonetheless, it's a torpedo salvo. The Fletcher suddenly appears, she's going to sit in the smoke, and I use my hydro with AP loaded. Firing on the broadside, and look at that, I chumped a fifth to a quarter HP on that Fletcher when she showed broadside. Switching to the HE. And let's see how this goes. You can clearly tell that my my salvos are a lot more consistent compared to your typical German single gun turrets. They tend to just go all over the place, or you're just not getting massive salvos. In this case, it's really nice, and the shells are a lot quicker. Enemy Amagi is broadside. I'm going to smoke up because I am spotted. Plus, she is within my detection range. Going to capture the flag. Start using my guns on the broadside Amagi. I should use AP because the Amagi is showing still a considerable amount of broadside at that moment, but I decided to go for the fire. Torpedoes are on the way. Looks like that one torpedo will be in the path of the Amagi, but the Amagi is already in a position where she wouldn't get hit by the torpedoes, and unfortunately, it was a very close call for the Amagi. Friendly Musashi fired a big salvo, and one of the shells managed to hit the Amagi, finishing her off. We finally secured the A flag, and now it's our turn to head towards the B flag and assist our other side of our fleet, which is the Eastern Fleet. Now, enemy CV which is the Lexington, got her rocket planes. And initially, I think she was trying to aim for me, but since I'm inside the Fletcher smoke at this moment, she shoots the Musashi. Using my priority sector with the Z-46, I'm going to try my best to shoot down any possible planes. Again, the Z-46 is the first German destroyer that gets dual-purpose AA. Well, dual-purpose guns, which allows it to be used as AA. Right here, I turn really sharp, and the Lexington somewhat hits the turret, which is where I want her to hit because that is the most heavily armored part of my ship. Normally the turrets are the most armored, which means that it won't do that much damage. Of course, it incapacitates my second turret. Enemy, Nagato, she's turning. Although the indicator says that I'm behind or late on my torpedo run, I'm going to drop them anyways because I'm expecting the torpedoes to be reloaded when the Nagato finish her turn, and I will be given a chance to go for another full torpedo run. So why not just use the torpedoes? Constant pressure. It's all about pressuring your targets when it comes to playing the German destroyers, especially with the Z-46. So now the enemy Nelson and Ibuki is on the B flag. I am pretty close, and at this moment, I timed it correctly. My smoke is about to come up. I'm going to use my smoke when I need to. Looks like a torpedo run from the friendly Kaga is on its way to the Nelson, but I took the Kaga's kill, which is alright. Gotta make sure that I don't get caught by the Kaga's torpedo. I don't think the Kaga torpedo has that much range. Now my torpedo is about to reload in 5 seconds, and the Nagato is turning broadside. Now, nobody has spots on the Nagato. Looks like someone spotted the Nagato again. And right at that moment, I memorized where the indicator is at. Well, even if the Nagato has suddenly disappeared for a while, I recognize where I should drop my torpedoes. Drop it in that direction. 10 kilometers torpedoes. Like I said, that should be what you expect from a standard torpedo at this tier. Anything below, that's when you know that your ship is not a torpedo type of destroyer. Those torpedoes look good. I did not drop them in the same direction. I try to spread them out so they can make this type of pattern. And look at that. Fast torpedoes, and they're very stealthy. Hard to detect, and the Nagato is toasted, giving me the second devastating strike. And looks like the Ibuki has been taken out. So it's at this point of the game where it's pretty much game. There's only the Chapayev and the enemy Lexington. And honestly, I don't really do much after this point. I probably get an extra 1k or maybe a few hundred more damage on the Chapayev for my guns. Enemy Chapayev does use her radar. I was not expecting to stay in that smoke forever, since German destroyers, you want to be on a constant run. Constantly changing your position, putting pressure with the torpedoes. That is the reason why. Even if the German destroyers had magically American smoke, you don't want to sit in the smoke with the German destroyer. Gotta take advantage of your strengths here. And that is the torpedoes, but those torpedoes were just too late to hit the Chapayev. I didn't get the angle I wanted. If that island didn't exist right there, I probably would have sunk that Chapayev. So at this point, I'm going to capture the C flag and end the game. Aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time on World of Warships.